The world talks about technology, innovation, and artificial intelligence. But beneath everything you see, there is one force that still decides who rises and who collapses. Not data, not money, energy. And at the center of global energy is oil. Most people think oil is just fuel, something we burn and eventually replace. But oil is not simply energy. It is control over motion, control over production, and control over time. Oil decides how fast economies move and how quickly they stop. Every decade the world announces the end of oil. First nuclear energy, then renewables, now electric vehicles. Yet oil demand never collapsed. It reorganized. Oil stopped being visible power and became structural power. Money has value only if energy exists to give it meaning. Factories need power, food needs fuel, transportation needs oil. Without energy, money is just paper. Oil turns currency into reality. That is why oil-rich nations survive shocks others cannot. Every modern economy runs on oil-backed systems. Logistics, agriculture, manufacturing, and military supply chains all depend on oil. Even digital economies rely on oil-powered infrastructure. No oil means no movement, and no movement means no economy. Power is not about ownership. It is about flow control. Who controls extraction, refining, transportation, and pricing controls the system. Oil power is about managing flow, not barrels. Wars are not decided by armies anymore. They are decided by fuel calculations. How long planes can fly, how long tanks can move, how long supply lines stay alive. Oil answers these questions before the first shot is fired. A modern army burns fuel faster than ammunition. Without oil, aircraft stay grounded, vehicles become scrap, and supply chains collapse. This is why energy security is national security. Countries stockpile oil not for profit, but for survival. Strategic petroleum reserves buy time to negotiate, stabilize, and respond. Oil is stored time. Oil is not only energy. It is financial architecture. For decades, oil trading required one thing: U.S. dollars. This created permanent global demand for the dollar. Oil did not just fuel cars. It fueled global finance. Oil exporting nations received dollars, and those dollars returned to global markets. This system stabilizes some currencies and weakens others. Oil silently shapes exchange rates. On Wealth Casebook, we track how oil prices affect politics. When oil prices rise, transport costs increase, food becomes expensive, and inflation spreads. Governments lose support without a single protest. Every major economic crisis has an energy story behind it. Oil shortages do not just raise prices. They destabilize societies. No modern country is truly energy independent. Even oil producers rely on refining technology, shipping insurance, spare parts, and trade routes. Oil power is interconnected, not isolated. Oil in the ground is useless without refining. Refineries turn crude oil into jet fuel, diesel, and industrial chemicals. Refining capacity decides who can actually use oil. Sanctions rarely destroy oil fields. They restrict refining technology. Without refining, oil exists, but power does not. Oil must travel through narrow routes like Hormuz, Suez, and Malacca. Control these routes and you control supply. Navies protect oil routes more than borders. Oil is embedded in every price you see, from groceries to airline tickets. When oil moves, everything moves. That is why central banks watch oil more than markets. The world talks about green energy, but green energy still depends on oil-driven logistics. Mining, shipping, and manufacturing are powered by fossil fuels. Transition increased oil's strategic importance. Oil is not just underground. It exists in contracts, alliances, military planning, and finance. Oil is a global operating system. Power does not belong to countries with the most oil. It belongs to those who control infrastructure, technology, finance, and insurance. Energy buys time to adapt, respond, and survive crises. Oil-rich systems collapse slower. Oil demand will change, not vanish. Its role will shift from consumption to leverage. Future power is about control, not burning fuel. Oil is still power, but its next phase is quieter, smarter, and more dangerous, where we decode the systems behind money, energy, and global power. Oil is power not because it is loud, but because it is structural, and structural power lasts. Oil's future is not about consumption growth. It is about strategic scarcity. As alternatives rise, oil becomes less common in daily use and more powerful in moments of crisis. Scarcity turns energy into leverage. Transitions create instability, and instability increases dependence on reliable energy. During transition periods, oil becomes the backup system, the safety net, the last line of defense. And backup systems hold extraordinary power. When supply chains break, oil restores movement. When renewables fail, oil fills the gap. When grids overload, oil stabilizes output. Oil is not replaced, it is reserved. Oil disruptions do not need to be permanent. Short interruptions are enough. A few days of supply stress can shock markets, raise inflation, and trigger panic. Oil can pause economies without destroying them. Modern sanctions target energy access, not armies or borders. Deny fuel, and a country slows itself. Energy sanctions weaponize oil without firing weapons. Oil shipments depend on insurance, and insurance depends on political alignment. This allows invisible control. No ban, no blockade, just refusal to insure. Oil power operates through paperwork. The future of oil power is not ownership, it is access. Who can buy oil, who can ship it, who can refine it, who can insure it? Access defines power. Technology does not remove oil. It increases dependence on stable energy. Data centers need power, AI infrastructure needs cooling, manufacturing needs fuel. High-tech economies are energy fragile. Artificial intelligence consumes enormous electricity, and electricity requires fuel during instability. AI power collapses without energy reliability. Oil becomes the stabilizer behind advanced economies. Territory matters less than energy flow. Cyber attacks target grids, navies protect fuel routes. Future wars aim to disrupt energy, not conquer land. Oil is the first target. Alliances are built around energy security, and defense agreements follow fuel supply routes. Military cooperation often begins with energy cooperation. Oil creates alliances before ideology does. Regional power blocks form around oil stability, and shared infrastructure binds nations together. Energy networks replace borders as strategic assets. On Wealth Casebook, we track how oil pricing influences inflation, interest rates, and currency stability. Price manipulation can destabilize economies quietly. Oil prices shape global narratives. Stable oil prices support governments, while volatility undermines leadership. Political survival depends on energy calm. Releasing reserves sends signals. Building reserves sends warnings. Energy actions speak louder than speeches. Oil storage is geopolitical language. Developing nations remain oil dependent, and energy cost determines growth speed. High oil prices delay development. Low prices accelerate progress. Oil decides who catches up and who stays behind. The future divides into energy-secure nations and energy-vulnerable nations. Technology alone does not close this gap. Energy access defines economic destiny. Globalization relied on cheap oil, but as oil becomes strategic, supply chains shorten. Energy security drives regionalization. Oil reshapes global trade. The world talks about post-oil futures, but plans still assume oil stability. This contradiction creates risk. Oil remains the silent assumption in every forecast. Oil systems are stable until they are not. When disruption happens, response time is limited. Energy shocks do not give warnings. Oil power is about timing. Who can wait longer? Who can endure disruption? Who runs out of fuel first time decides winners. There will be no oil empires and no visible domination. Power will operate through contracts, standards, infrastructure, and compliance. Quiet systems outlast loud ones. Winners will be those who control refining, logistics, energy integration, and crisis response. Not those who abandon oil first. Oil is no longer about growth. It is about stability. Growth can be volatile. Stability is power. Oil ensures continuity in a fragile world. Technology sits on energy. Finance sits on energy. Military power sits on energy. Remove energy and everything above collapses. Oil remains foundational. This is Wealth Casebook, decoding the systems behind money, energy, and power. Oil is power because it controls time, movement, and stability, quietly shaping the future.